Hey, welcome to Yogi's Garage. What you're looking at here is a 2007 Porsche 911 Carrera S Cabriolet. And it is here because it needs our help. And by that I mean it needs work. Look at the headlights, man. Look at the wheels, the interior. This car has been loved. And now it's time for me to show it some love by fixing up some of the things that are troubling this car. Case in point, the headlights. Look at these things. You can barely see the lenses, and the turn signals aren't any better. The paint is mismatched. So there's tons of things here visually. I can see some dents. So that's also going to be addressed. The interior, the leather, check. But in this video, we're going to tackle the blend door. Yeah, if you're a 996 owner or a 997 owner of these 911s, then you know about the foam that comes loose from the blend doors in your air conditioning system and blows in your face. So this is the first of many projects for this car. So I hope you stick around. And welcome to Project Daisy. Are you ready? Let's fix it. Since I'm Yogi from the future, I know how this project ends, but I want you to still wait it out and see how this car ends up. But it looks great now. But the long story short of this video series is that what you're witnessing here is the next evolutionary step in Yogi's Garage, where I start tackling restoration tasks on cars. And that can mean anything from restoring the paint or taking care of the wheels. It's all part of the restoration. And when I start walking underneath the car, I start noticing not opportunities for me as a business, but opportunities for the customer to save this car from known issues. And one of them being leaking from the sump and from the oil filler housing. There's also issues with the IMS flange probably leaking as well. And if you're not familiar with the 997 IMS flanges, take a look at my Indecent video series where we tackled that one. So as I'm going over this car, I'm looking for other things that need to be addressed, but I'm also thinking, this could be a start for restoration. So I put together some proposals for the customer, and he was very interested in them. So we started putting them on a list and started tackling them. And before you knew it, 6 months later, the car is still in my shop. But it's actually still in my shop because the weather's been kind of bad here and he hasn't picked it up. But yeah, this project is done. So a lot of the things you see here have been addressed as much as possible in a level 1 restoration. And I think for me at Yogi's Garage, a level 1 restoration is anything that you could visually see without having to tear into it. And I crossed that line a little bit when I started taking care of the radiators and things like that. But overall, I wanted to get the aesthetics of this car addressed first. And there's some logic behind that. First and foremost, it's so that the car looks like it's worth saving, right? If it doesn't look good, then why the hell should you invest your time in something like this? But the other thing is I wanted the customer and the customer's wife, who is the primary driver, to fall in love with this car all over again. And I think I succeeded. So let's go over everything. Let's see what we're going to do. I think the first thing we're going to tackle is probably the cup holder. And then we're going to move on to the blend door. And I'm going to slowly build up my confidence when it comes to this car.
I'm no ordinary mechanic. You know that. I've been working on these cars for about 6 years now, going on 6 years, and I do things a very specific way, and I will not cut corners. So if you want a job done right, you're going to bring it here because I'm gonna give you a full workup on this car and let you know exactly what I think you need and nothing more. All right? So let me go write this down, and I'll show you what I come up with.
All right, so I want to get this blend door situation assessed, but first thing I wanted to do is appreciate the interior upgrades from the 996 to the 997 generation, because these are really nice. The vents are awesome. They look great. But unfortunately, some of the guts inside are still 996. And I say unfortunately because one of those guts is the blend door or the HVAC system. So what you're seeing here is I'm looking for the foam particles. And some of them there's some in there. There's some that has already come out. But I need to stick a borescope in there to assess whether or not he definitely has a blend door issue, because the stuff that you see torn out already was done by the customer. So he got frustrated with the project and decided to hand it over to me. So all of the panels and things that are already removed were for this project as well as the steering column. So I'm going to stick my camera in here and let's see what we find out. I'm going to use some borescope video here too, but I wanted to show you the process. So I stick it through the vent there, and so it takes it right down the gullet of the air conditioning, and you can see the blend doors. The blend doors are definitely missing their foam. In fact, you can still see some of the little particles on it, but they're completely obliterated. And again, you should expect this to happen, especially if you park your car outside most of the time. It's a convertible. The weather will chew these things up, and they last about 10 years. That's my assessment, maybe 12. But they can be resolved by someone like me or someone who's got the patience to want to drill in, or not really drill in, but to cut up some parts of the car to get to it so that you can resolve it. Because otherwise you're blowing hot and cold air through that vent, and it's never going to feel cold. And I think that's what the customer is thinking, why the air conditioner is blowing warm is because of that. Actually, it's two issues, and that was one of them. But this is definitely one that we're going to need to address. So this is the process of putting your convertible top in the service position. You basically open it until it stops in that spot, and then you're in service position. So not very scientific, but it works. And as the system gets older, the top's going to start to sag or lose hydraulic pressure, and that kind of happens here. What I'm showing you is the tensioner that holds this part of the top has failed. And when that happens, that little bead at the edge of the top won't sit in the rail, which is that plastic or that black metal strip there. And yes, the top is totally in need of a reconditioning. So I'm going to add that to the list of things that we need to work on. This convertible top needs some addressing. I mean, yikes, that is really mucky. I don't even think my car was that dirty. Now, here's a good look at the interior. This is how it arrived, by the way. So he drove it with that panel laying on his leg. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, this is where I have to start. So he got me going with this. So now I need to just finish it up, and I'm going to slowly start making more lists because the leather also needs to be addressed in this car. Now, here's where things get a little spicy. And I say spicy because these poor mirrors look like they've been saturated with something spicy because it burned right through the clear coat and made it bubble up. So I have no idea what caused that, but the only way to fix that is to remove those mirrors, send them off to be resprayed, and hope they match. But it's clearly, you can see the hood was resprayed and it didn't match. It's difficult to do that because the fading that occurs in the paint after it sits for so long. So here's the leather, and you can see that it's seen better days. And I think that just happens with use and love, and the chemicals that you put on your body tend to eat away at the conditioning of the leather. So that needs to be redone. And I have a few ideas, and I'll show you that once I get to that point in the video. But if you follow me for long enough, you know I've done leather work before on Project CK, my Turbo S, and it's the same process. It's meticulous, but it looks fantastic when you're done. So I decided to dip my toes into starting this project by doing something simple. I got the new cup holder because this one's broken. It's a very common issue with the 997s. And so I'm starting the disassembly process, and I apologize for the lens going fluttering like that. It's a firmware issue with that DJI camera that I use. But anyway, this thing here, it's not as easy as you think to get to, but it's not very challenging either. You have to get the side panel off. You got to pull the glove box out as well, and there's a couple of Allen head screws that are holding that cup holder in, and then you can just pull it out and then reverse the process, and you're good to go. Pretty simple way to start. Let's do the blend door. So getting to these blend doors is a two-step process. There's the exterior, or the frunk, and you got to get to that from where the battery's sitting. You got to remove the cowl. You got to get all of this stuff out of there to get to the heater core. Then once you get to the heater core, you got to take the heater core out, and that reveals the blend door, and you can definitely see it at that point. But now you got to cut that out, and there's some steps interior-wise that need to be done, which I'll show you after I take care of this. Could these batteries be any freaking heavier and more awkward to get out? Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. You know, I thought about cutting this part of the video out because it's unnecessary, but I wanted to give you an example of what happens even to me when you don't review what you're supposed to do, either watching a video or looking over a workshop manual. This step is completely unnecessary. What I'm doing is I'm taking the battery pan out because when I did the original blend door for Project Pepper, I also was taking care of a fuel sender issue at the same time, and that's me figuring out, it's like, oh wait, That's the fuel sender. I didn't need to do this. So enjoy some humility from Yogi to you, whatever.
All right, we got to take the cowl off now. Start with all the trim pieces up front and then get the cowl off. There's a couple of screws right here, and then there are 2 screws behind the little hidden panel here, and then you can get it out. And then once you do that, you typically get the sway bars, or not the sway bars, but the, what are these called? And then now you get the strut braces out as soon as you get this off. But in order to get the cowl off, you got to take the windshield wipers off. It's all coming back to me now. Yeah, make sure to do yourself a favor and mark these arms on the windshield wipers because they are different. So this is driver and this is passenger.
So did you know that if you buy a cowl from Porsche, it does not include those little covers? You have to buy those separately. I mean, you shouldn't be really surprised everything is extra, but I was when I originally ordered one. Not to mention the fact that Pelican Parts sent me one from the UK, and so it was right-hand drive. And I still have it. So if you need a right-hand drive cowl, I'm your guy in the United States. Some subtle differences between the 996 and the 997. As you can see, I'm using a panel removal tool or pry bar because those are rivets, not screws. So the little plastic panel rivets. So I decided to go medieval on it and just started tearing them out because I have plenty more. Who doesn't?
One last step is to get the wiper arms off before I can pull the cowl. He is getting new wiper blades, so I'm not too concerned about the condition of them because they are indeed in need of replacement. Now with these, they're a little bit trickier. But I've learned that if you just take your time and just give it a little wiggle back and forth, it'll break free from that beveled fitting. And it makes it pretty easy. But again, that took 100 years of mechanical experience for somebody else then to tell me how to do it. So remember that. All right, so now I think we can get this out. There is one tube that's in the way, but I don't think it's gonna interfere too much. And just remember, there are pieces in here, backing pieces, you don't want to lose. Oh, it's got all kinds of backing pieces. This one here had these 3 pieces in it on the driver's side. Boom. And remember, it goes up. If I remember correctly, it goes up the windshield. There. Okay. Up and out, just like that. All right, so let's take a look at inside of this beautifully loved 911, right? You shouldn't be alarmed if yours looks like this. This just means that it's been sitting outside. It doesn't mean it's poorly maintained. It's just, it's loved. And I would prefer to see it like this than in pristine condition with no miles, because then you know you're gonna be dealing with some serious issues here. All right, so your heater core is right here, right? So there's some goopy glue that holds this foam cap on. You wanna be careful. So I'm gonna clean this whole area before I go at it, because you don't wanna mess around with dirt in this area, especially with that adhesive. It's freaking nasty, and it makes it even nastier when it gets dirty. Okay, so vacuum all of this out. We'll clean it up. And then we'll also need to take these braces out on both sides, because you can't get the heater core out with this in the way. Okay? All right.
You know, servicing a blend door like this is like peeling back an onion. You're not quite sure how many more layers you got to go until you peel back the first layer. And then there's another layer. And what you're seeing here is that I'm pretty confident in thinking I'm going to just have to take this. Wow, I am fat. I'm not that fat anymore. Take the windshield washer motor out. And then, yay, I think I'm done. And I'm going to clean all that up when I'm done. But guess what?
All right, now that this is all taken care of and I've got everything where I need it to be, before I open up that area right there where the heater core is at, we got to take care of this, guys. Come on. Look, here's the deal. This is a customer car, yes. So I don't necessarily need to do that, but I'm Yogi, nice to meet you. And this is how I roll, right? You got a dirty car, man, I'm gonna clean it for you. I'm not asking for more money, I just want you to appreciate what I do, appreciate the service that I offer, and this is a prime example. I know you got a busy life, we all got busy lives. I'm here to help you, all right? You ready? Let's clean it.
You know, I find cleaning very therapeutic, and I tend to want to do it just because I want to. And in this case, I wanted to and I needed to, but look how much better it's going to look when I'm finished, and I'm really proud of it.
All right, although it's not necessary, I went ahead and closed off the hoses to the heater core. It's just to eliminate too much mess. It's not going to generate a whole bunch, but I don't know. I prefer to be careful, even though I know it's not going to squirt a whole lot. I'm just a clean kind of guy, you know?
Hey, remember when I said I thought I had peeled back all the onion layers and was ready to go at it? And guess what? I was wrong. Do you see what I see? I bet you do. Well, you would if my big butt wasn't in the way. So there. Do you see it? Yeah, that thing has to come out. That was holding the strut brace supports. Luckily, I had some tools ready to go. These are all 10 mils, by the way, so it's pretty quick to take out. But there's 4 of them. There's also some black inserts that hold those strut braces in there that were taken out when I took the braces off. Now let's get through it. So the plastic razor blade is almost a must. You have to use it because you're able to scrape under the adhesive because you want to peel the adhesive off with it so you don't have to reapply it. And if you don't and you start peeling it, you might tear that thing. It's made of some pretty tough stuff, but it ain't that tough. And there's that gross stuff. So I had to clean all that up, and then we can get that heater core out. Oh, and get ready to pause your screen here because I'm going to show you the part number, and here it is. Did you see it?
I went ahead and plugged those up, as you can see, because I don't want that stuff spilling into the air conditioning when we try to pull this out. Now I gotta see what this is. Okay, so this is just gonna get out of the way. Yep. Straight up and out. And there you go. Check that out. You can hear it sloshing around in there. Listen. Sounds like my belly after Friday night. So it's like, Yogi, what's all the fuss about? Why do people do this? Well, take a look at that right there. You see that? Those holes should not be visible. This is your blend door, one of 2 blend doors, right? And unfortunately, the geniuses used a material like a foam that just oxidized. And it's real bad on cabriolets because of the soft tops and the heat that it's exposed to. So there's really no way of fixing this because the problem is that the other half of the blend door is behind this plastic barrier, so you can't really see it. So what you got to do is you got to come at it from underneath the dashboard. Oh yeah, on the passenger side. But you start by removing this cap first because in there is the top end of the actuator, which is underneath in the car. So here you are. So this is all you're going to do now from here, right? And once it's disconnected, then you can pull it out. But here is the foam that used to be part of that baffle. Great. Got the cup holder in, yay, but here's the problem. They don't give you the trim pieces. You gotta put the trim pieces on this. You gotta transfer it over. And you might as well run these bolts out because they give you new bolts. That's a good thing. This is an aftermarket one. It's made by Uru, but I know Uru, they're really a good vendor, good OE vendor for Porsche. So we're going with that. And so all we gotta do is pop these little panels off. I gotta figure out how to do that. This one came off already, no big deal. I think it's in the car. And I think we just snap them on and we just bolt it back in and boom, cup holder done. Okay, I think I'm making progress with this thing. In fact, I know I am. What I ended up doing is pulling the hinges off on the ends, which gave me a little bit more access to the big one here. And we gotta be real careful with this larger one because it's not cheap. I just looked up the price and it's a couple $100. So there, I got it, okay? The only problem is it took a little bit of damage right here in the corner, but I think I can resolve that with some super glue. We'll see. And then we'll get this thing back in on the new one, right here. Just as soon as I figure out how to do that. But here you go. This is the broken one. See, broken, not broken. It's just like this. Ta-da! Broken. All right, we are in. I'm doing the final tightening sequence right now. And again, you don't want to force these things in, right? You just take your time, man. You want cup holders, don't you? Just patience, Daniel-san. Patience. It's 2 screws. And then we're in, right? Then we gotta test it.
Meanwhile,
I went ahead and started cleaning out the inside of this interior to get access to the carpets. And yeah, they're just dirty, man. They're just dirty. And you saw that awesome tool that I was using. And if you haven't, let me show you what it does. So it's this little horn thing that attaches and really disrupts the dirt in the fabric. So check it out. Ready? Dirt. That is cool, man. That kicks the dirt right out of the carpet, and you can then see that it needs to be shampooed. Some spillage right there. All right, so now we got to get this cap off right here. And it's not even really a cap, it's just the top of the hinge, like I said. Your best bet is to use something like this, because you can control the angle a lot better than coming at it with some kind of tool. And you want to save this part, but basically this frees up the hinge so that you can come up with it and kick the bottom out, because you're going to go inside here in a second and kick the bottom out of that out of this actuator, which is going to free up that panel there. You'll see. It's all going to make sense. And there you go. The Dremel tool works well too. And this is all you need. See? That's it. Take the cap off. It'll all make sense because all of this is going to come off here in a sec. In fact, you can get a mechanics pick in there now and just pull that thing up. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah, here it comes. See? Basically, this is the way you want to put it back in, right? Because this little thing slips right onto the vane of that panel, the thin part, and moves it back and forth. But the actual actuation is down on the bottom. All right, we're inside the cabin of this 997, and I had to take the subwoofer out. There's a subwoofer that sits right here. In fact, you can see the shadow of the grill because it was a downward facing sub. Yeah, so the reason why I had to do that, it's pretty easy, just a little clamp there, so that I can get to this ductwork here, this right here, then it will give me access to that green lever. That thing is what actuates the blendor, and it needs to be unscrewed so that you can remove it from above. But that freaking duct is in the way, so you need a T20 to get up in there. The subwoofer was a T30, single bolt, and then it's just a spring-loaded clamp here and here. So we're good there. And so now we just got to get that thing off in there. Let me just put you down and I'll start that process. All right. There we go. You can do it by hand easier than using a ratchet because it's just a tiny little screw holding that in. Here it is. There. Did you see that piece of foam that just came out? Hopefully that got that on camera. Okay, now I should be able to push that through the other side. Yeah, the other side of that is attached, I have a feeling, on the driver's side. Let's go see. All right, so there's the other half of that ductwork right there. And the customer was nice enough to remove this panel for me. Thank you, customer. Saved me a few minutes of time to get this thing out. So let's try one little T20. And now it should just come out. There you go. All right, easy. And there, that little screw is what holds it, a 7 mil. And then it should just disconnect this like that. And then it should just come up from above. Now before you go up to the top, you gotta remove the plug on this side too. The easiest way to do it is to rethread the bolt, now that the cap is off, back into the bottom of this thing, and then you can yank it out. Yeah, ask me how I figured that out, huh? Yeah, and here is the bottom hinge. You can see the flat part that goes into the vane itself. And like I said, I just used the screw and then yank the crap out of it because it's really in there. Just keep your hands protected because you'll get them cut up. But now that it's out, I should be able to go up in front and just pull that thing out. Let's do it. All right, so this should just now come out. Got it.
Okay, there was a little piece of plastic still holding it in place.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start removing some of the center components that have not been taken out yet. First and foremost, the vent. Just take a couple of plastic trim tools here to push down these two springs. They're centered right on the vent, so it's pretty easy to find. And then it'll fold forward, and you can pull the wiring off or the hazard and for the door lock. And then it'll give you access to these vents, which then you'll have to, I think you can work around them. I don't think you need to disconnect that. But basically, this is giving you access to the frame because there's a huge bracket in the back that's interfering with you getting access to the other blend door. So we need to deal with that. So let's start by pulling this out. All right, I'm slowly pulling things out. I pulled out the HVAC controls, the seat heating, all that stuff. I have a concern that in the 997, there's this metal frame right here that I was like, I'm gonna have to pull part of the dash out to get to that. So what I'm doing here is doing my due diligence, and I want to make sure that if I can get to it, I'm going to get to it. If I can't, I need to try my best before I give up. I need to remove the stick shift, right, to get this whole panel off, to get this center plastic stuff off. There's a couple of things you need to do. So you need to get the car, since the battery's out, the ignition's out, everything's disconnected. There's a little access hole right here underneath the plastic pad. Stick a screwdriver in there. There's a little button you press, and it'll allow you to put the car into neutral. But now what I need to do is get this cap off and take off the handle so I can lift this thing up and get it out. There are two hinges here on either side that'll pop this thing up, and then it exposes a spring clip which controls this thing right here, but also holds it in place. So let's try to do that right now. So get my light on it. There's one, two, basically like that, right? There. Okay, watch the spring. There's a spring in there. And you want to get at this little clip, this spring clip. There. Okay. Then that should allow you to just lift this thing up and out. There you go. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so once you get the top panel off, then it exposes these 4 T20s. Get those out. I'm holding them in here for now. And then there, that shows you the little button that you depress. See? You hear that? That allows the gear lever to go into neutral. All right, so it's a good thing that I pulled that out, because right behind it is another T20 right there that's holding this frame in, and that is a brace for sure. And take that one off and keep unscrewing until I'm done unscrewing. Let's keep going. There. Okay. Now it's loose. That's something else on this side. You see something on this side is holding it. Look. Nice and tight, nice and loose, nice and tight. So, just gotta find what it's attached to. And I think I see it. Yeah, I see it. It's way back there. You see that? Let me see. Yeah, there's the screw. Right here. So I can get my long thing in and get it out. All right, let's do that. You know, I'm actually kind of glad that I'm doing this, because it's another feather in my cap that I've done 996 generation as well as the 997 generation. And the 997 is certainly more convoluted, is an understatement, I think. So this frame here is clear on one side. You can see it's clear. But it's not clear on this side. And that's because this whole glove compartment interior is interfering right there. You can see it flexing. See that? And I can't compress this enough to get around that. So, without damaging it, obviously. Because everything else is free. I think everything else is free. See, all of that comes free. All of this is free. Except for right there. So, more work to do to try to get this thing free. And then we can get at it, man. We're still got more onion to peel here. All right, let me just keep working. Wow, this is a whole ordeal compared to the 996. This is about the only time I think the 996 is easier to work on than a 997 is in this situation. So in order to get this frame out, like I said, we got to get this glove box out. In order to get the glove box out, you got to do a few things. Yes, I had to take the cup holder out, so that was pointless. There's 2 screws under here. There's some plastic screws that are holding on that foam trim. Some T20s here. You got to remove this panel here by popping this out. Removing some of the door trim back so you can get the plastic tabs out of the way. Exposes 3 T20s, 1, 2, and 3. And that pretty much secures it. So at this point, you should be able to just take out these top screws and release the dragon. All right, let's do it. I might have missed one because it's not. So that's fine. So I was right. That's all it took. And let's not forget the wiring harness right here for the lights. And it's all kinds of connected, but all you have to do is just connect this one point right here. And that should do it. And then the light. Glove box out. Now, look at that. Now I can get it out. Well, what do you know? Wow. Okay, yay me. Okay. And this one should come out once we disconnect that. And see, this is new. Right here. Compared to the 996. So let's get to cooperating. Watch the whole car collapse after this one bolt's taken out. See, I get the rest of it out now with the power tool. There we go. Okay, now that's out. Okay, I think I finally got it. The wiring harnesses, all of these are all clipped to it. In some fashion, whether it's a zip tie or some kind of push clip. Then you got to remove this brace here, right here, that holds the steering wheel to get to it. And I hope this is freaking worth it, because this was a pain in the booty. But now that it's out, I don't think I need to remove it all the way out. I just need to remove it enough to get to this thing here so I can get access to the blend door on the other side. So let me pull the rest of this out and just kind of make room. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, I think I'm starting to figure it out. They did resolve the issue with getting at it by, let me start over. There are some changes to this design from the 996, and I think it's for the better. Because this panel here is no longer just one big piece of ductwork. It's actually attached. And there's a panel that sits in front of the HVAC blender that I think if I can get to all the screws, I might be able to pop this face off and then get to that other blend door without having to cut anything. Dude, how about that? Awesome. Okay, so let me just keep prying at this and see, but there's a couple of T20s that was holding this in place, and it's clamped at the bottom here. Not even clamped, it's like clicked upwards, or maybe it slides off, but either way, I think this is going to come off, which is good. So let me just finish reverse engineering it. Like that. Look at that. Some clips. But look, I can see the blend door. Awesome. We did it. All right, I think I can get to it from the top. All right, it's time to address these blend doors here. And the first thing you got to do, obviously, is get a wire wheel or a piece of sandpaper or something, and a rough piece of sandpaper, just to get all the adhesive off of this metal, right? Because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to clean it and prep it for the adhesive or foam or whatever you decide to use to get this thing recovered. I think I'm going to go with HVAC tape. I did foam before, but I think the HVAC tape overall is going to be lighter and therefore make it easier on the little motors to actuate these doors. So your mileage may vary. Feel free to use whatever you want. You can even 3D print circles, plugs if you want, to just plug these in. And at some point, I think I might actually do that and offer them up. But right now, this is good enough. I'm gonna And as far as the blend door on the inside that you cannot get out, I mean, you can if you really want to go nuts. You could try to get a blade up here to scalp the top of this hinge here like we did on the other one, but I don't think we're going to do that. Because look, we have plenty of access to just come in here and cap these off with some HVAC tape, right? This is not a science, this is not an art project. We don't need to recreate exactly what Porsche did here. What we need to do is keep the air from mixing when you don't want it to. The best thing to do is use some HVAC tape and call it a day. Let's not get fancy, guys. All right, check out my new light, by the way. My mother-in-law got me this for my 55th birthday, and I freaking love it, man. It's got so many different functions, and it's magnetic, and it has this articulating head. It's super cool. And this is the other product that I used on my 996. Both of the 996s, I use this. It's a neoprene strip adhesive, and it's fine. It's super light, and it can do the job. So if you want to use this, go for it. Like I said, I'm doing this time. because I just can't fathom why I would need to use neoprene. It's not an insulator. We don't need to insulate anything. So we're good. Let's just go with this. And this stuff's pretty easy to use. It has a backing on it so that you can pretty much measure it out before you want to tack it down. But in this situation, and it really doesn't matter because I'm just going to use a straight edge to cut the edges off if I overshoot the amount. Measurement here. That looks good. And we'll just come in, cut it. Good enough for government work. What I like to do is like this, right? And then, you know, lay it down, give it a little slack there so you can cut the edge, and then pull it and tack it at the same time. Don't try to peel it all at one time. I mean, you can if you want, but you're just creating issues for yourself. All right, that's one side. I don't want to go over the anchor point. I want to steer clear of anything around the hinge, just for weight. I don't know, whatever. There you go. All right, you got yourself an edge here. Just use a blade or a pair of scissors or whatever and cut the edge off. All right, I'm gonna do things a little bit differently in here. I cut them into little strips that will fit the oval. That way it makes it easier for me to get in here and hold the door at the same time I'm trying to apply the adhesive because, you know, it's attached to an anchor point, so I can't pull it out. And I'm in a precarious angle here trying to get under the dash to do this. So again, I'm just gonna peel it off slowly, stick it, and cover up the 4 ovals. Pretty simple. You ready? I'm gonna do it without you. Bye. All right, and they're all done in here. I'm ready to put all this stuff back together, but I wanted to show you real quick what it looks like, nice and clean. And that will solve the problem with air mixing when it shouldn't be. And I don't expect that to ever go away. It's not gonna biodegrade or anything. That's aluminum HVAC tape. It's what it's designed to do. All right, so let's plug this stuff up, get this thing back together, and then move on to the next phase of this project. Okay, we got everything back in, all of the levers on the bottom back in, and all of the blend doors back in. And then in the front, we've got this blend door ready to go as well. And I've got the plug in on the top that holds that, and then I'm gonna use some putty to glue that back together. Hell, you can even use super glue, you can use a welder, a glue welder, whatever you want to do just to cap that back on there, and then you can get... All right, and there. It's a couple of screws here and here, the T20 kind, and of course there'll be other ones that will attach to the frame that goes back in. There's quite a few things that we got to start reversing the process that we did to take it out. And the next thing we got to do now that this is in place is to get the ductwork back up top that goes to the driver's side, and then the center ductwork, and then the ductwork that goes this way to vent the passenger side. So slow process, making progress. Here we go.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video, but let me know what you thought of how I'm dropping this. The car is finished, so instead of dropping a long 3-hour video, I'm going to break it down into some pretty major things that were done to the vehicle. Case in point, the blend doors. And then the next time, of course, it'll be the leather or the engine work, things like that. So keep that in mind when you're following this video. If you're not a subscriber, please consider doing so. It helps with the algorithm. Hit that thumbs up, whatever platform you're on. Have a great one, and we'll see you next time on Yogi's Garage.